everyone. I had another game recently in the Slav Exchange lines, and this time a bit different than the last one. And I wanted to go over the game and show you some of the analysis and ideas that I found. And I was looking at the game afterwards, and then also what I was thinking about during the game and what my opponent played. So here in the ChessGoals repertoire, we're playing E5, which is sort of a dynamic and interesting way to play the Slav Exchange. We're going for this E5 in a lot of moves. White goes ahead and takes, and then we push past, which is the idea. And already when I was learning these lines from the repertoire, we only look at knight to E4, knight to B1. Oops, not there. Knight back to B1, but there was a check that I just thought seemed natural that we didn't really cover. I looked at this sort of briefly at one point with a computer. We didn't really know. And then lo and behold, the first time I get this, I run into it. So knight c6 is sort of the obvious move. If we do much of anything else, we're going to lose the pawn. And then knight to e4. And so often in these lines, when the knight's gone to e4, if there wasn't this check, we're giving this check and then coming across to d5 frequently. Is an idea or something I was thinking about. So I can't do that, obviously, because the queen's here, which I thought was sort of annoying. The big thing that I'm worried about now is this check on d6, and it looks like we're just going to have to give away the bishop pair, which is pretty annoying. So knowing that I wanted the queen to come to d5 anyway, I went ahead and played that, and this is a pretty good move. Better is actually just to play bishop to f5 and say that we don't really care about this check, and we're just going to develop quickly and create lots of problems, which is the main theme of something we definitely need to keep an idea when we get this pawn to d4 in these exchange lines. So bishop to f4, sort of inducing knight to d6, and we can just grab, take, queen takes. After e3, we can castle queenside immediately, and we're just going to bust lines open, develop quickly, and come across. I mean, if they don't play e3, they're going to have a heck of a time trying to get developed and get their pieces out, and we're going to continue attacking along similar lines. So after knight f3, already black is completely lost. Knight to b4 was a big threat. We can come out to here. This is difficult for white to handle. They could, of course, play better, but this is just one sample line of some sort of natural moves. So after queen d5, you're going to see that I have opportunities for the same kind of play that I didn't quite go for. I really expected this knight to g3, and I thought that knight to d6, that I was just going to take, and then after pawn takes, I was just going to play knight to f6, and there's no need to go for the pawn immediately. Again, we want very quick development. Say bishop f4 if he tries to hold the pawn, and maybe he's going to try to play for e3 at some point. This just fails pretty miserably. We can castle, something like knight f3, super-natural, rook to e8, and we've quickly gotten control of the e-file. We're trying to play against this e3 move early on and trying to make it very difficult for this to achieve. So rook d1, and now we really kind of have a threat against this d4 pawn. But the whole point is we get rook to e4 now, and we're threatening d3 a lot of times. This pawn's going to fall at some point. It's going to cost him dearly to hang on to this pawn. Something like g3, just trying to hang on, and immediately he runs into huge problems with bishop g4. You try to get your own bishop develop, and big problems with d3. You can't take because, well, your queen's hanging, and we're threatening to capture here. And once we capture here, this bishop's probably going to fall. All kinds of big, huge problems by just coming straight up the e-file and putting pressure against this e2 and d3 point with this idea of d3 being a break. Luckily, my opponent, well, I guess luckily, not luckily, I suppose, because I was worried about this knight d6 idea, and it turns out it absolutely should not have been. I wasn't clear to me if we were going to have compensation. If I didn't go for the pawn, I didn't want to give up this bishop, but it turns out we can attack just fine. So in the game, knight to g3 was played. It's quite a big mistake in itself. It allows this check, and there's not anything good that you can do about it. Really, the best was to give up the right to castle, which is what he did. And so that would just be takes, king takes, and similar play. We're going to develop very quickly. We're going to bring our rooks to the center, and we're just going to try to play d3 and break things open. So rook to d1. He's gonna, if white just tries to hide the king as quickly as possible, this is gonna be big problems. We can just castle, king to c1, and now queen to c5. Also good was bishop to e3 with similar ideas. And we're just gonna attack on the king side very quickly. We have 3, 4, queen, soon to be 5, maybe even 6 pieces attacking very, very quickly. And white is defending with, at best, you could say, a couple of pawns, a queen, and a rook. So after queen c5, if king to b1, it's very nice. Bishop to e6. Say now he just tries to develop, get some pieces out, like he's safe now or something. Knight f3, we get b5. And the queen is very short on squares. Very, very short, which is something nice that this bishop has done. Queen to a3, and no, 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 no. We do not want to trade queens. We just play knight to b4. We're going to attack this pawn. We're threatening this guy, winning this. Rook to c1, trying to take advantage of that. Doesn't matter. We can just capture. The queen's got to take. There's no other move. He just gets mated if he drops back. Queen takes. We take here in between move, grab here, and we get check. And this is just an example of a really quick attack that can happen when white leaves their king in the center and on the queen side. Instead, he played king to d1, which I thought was like a really surprising move, and thought this must be good for me. It is. It is horrible. You can see the evaluation. It's almost -3 for black. I got really drawn to this bishop d7 idea. I was like, woohoo, I can take, and this is going to be awesome. I'm going to get to win my pawn back with tempo. And this is wrong. And this is kind of a passive move. The queen wants to come to b3 probably anyway, and would love to trade queens. This pawn can be grabbed at any point. I don't need to do it with tempo. Also, this bishop is kind of loose, and this knight's the only thing defending it. And so I have to make an extra move if I ever want to take advantage of this discovery. And the last thing is it blocks rook to d1. There are so many better ways to have played this. Instead of bishop to d7, bishop to e6 is good. Knight to ge2. I think knight to e7 is quite a nice move. Knight to e7. Say queen b3, hoping to trade queens. No, thank you. Not going to do that. And we get knight to f3, coming out, attacking our pawn. And now we get bishop to e6 with tempo and all kinds of problems. Queen to d3. We can already take on a2, and we have big threats of this check winning the rook. And it's difficult to know how white's going to handle that. Notice coming back in this position, if we can safely play bishop to b3, this is mate. The king is really light on squares. So just natural development, coming out, planning to castle, bring the rooks to the center is definitely the way to go here. Bishop to d7, as fun as it is to threaten this discovery, it just doesn't help here. Knight to f3 is what my opponent played. And now I get the memo with knight ge7. He played bishop to f4, thinking he's going to hold on to the pawn, which I thought this was not that great. He actually missed an opportunity to play well, or to almost equalize. Knight to h4 is knight to h5 is a very tricky move, because if I just castle, he gets knight to f4, hitting with the queen, ready to come back to d3, and all of a sudden he's got an active knight, and pretty comfortably he's going to have an opportunity to play g3 and sneak out and get some activity, and bring some more pieces to defend his king. So this is an opportunity, something to think about, to notice that they have this opportunity to try to bring the knight back into the game. Instead, bishop to f4, I chose knight to d6, which comes out with tempo, it seems like. He chose knight to h5 now, but it's different. It is tempting, of course, to win back to win the bishop pair. But again, that knight all of a sudden doesn't look so stupid here. So I just castled, and then I got hit with this sort of shocker. And it wasn't clear to me what to do. I spent quite a bit of time here. This is quite a bad move. This king is still in the center. And it's kind of a one-trick thread. Of course, he wants this to happen, which would be a horrible game-ending move. Not going to do that. There are lots of ways to handle this, but it turns out that the one I played was maybe one of the best. I played bishop to e7. My idea was to defend this square so that there's no check, and then also free this knight up to move, because the big reason this knight couldn't move is because the bishop was in the way. So this is not this. I like this. I thought this was a little bit annoying to have to drop my bishop back because I thought it was really, really active. But I think it resolves a lot of threats here, creates some problems for black for sure, or for white. And he hasn't done anything to resolve his development problems. I still have everything out. I'm ready to bring the rooks in. I'm castled. Got to be doing better. He chose bishop takes. Of course, I take here with the knight. I'm not really worried about this rook at all. In fact, I end up giving it away, perhaps unnecessarily, but I thought this rook can't possibly be worth as much as, say, keeping a minor piece in the center. This rook's not really doing anything, especially if I were just to give up the exchange as a whole. His extra exchange is this rook here doing nothing. And all of a sudden, when this bishop's gone, he has no more real threats I'm worried about. Played queen to c2, and of course I should just play rook fc8. And if he comes back to queen b3, now you go queen to a5, and it's virtually impossible to stop this queen or bishop out to a4. The only thing to really do it is knight f6, and I can capture it. And he can't take back the bishop, but he can now come out to maybe here. But then I'm just 2 pieces to the good. Maybe there was a different move there, of course. But all kinds of problems here. Oh, I got to take the queen first. Whoops. So anyway, I kind of became obsessed with this idea of giving away my rook for all these minors. This is, of course, I'm still plus all kinds of material. He captures. I took with the king. This was important, not to do with the bishop. And after g takes, I take here. And the game ends kind of soon-ish, or sort of. It went on for several more moves, but the game's ostensibly over. Queen to c7, bishop comes out, rook to c1. My idea is that I'm putting pressure here, making it difficult to play e3, trying to make it difficult to play bishop to g2 with some pressure here as well. I played rook to d8 and bishop to g2, and now d3. And he can't go by, he can't take it, or he shouldn't take it. But he also can't really ignore it either, because once this d-pawn opens up, there's all kinds of problems. He did play here, I captured, and the game's go over pretty quickly. Bishop to b4, sort of taking off the escape route. All this is coming with check, so it's okay. And I found a way to win a rook here. Queen to c1, play d2, king to b1. And the better move is to promote this way. And after captures, this is nice. Rook to c1. We can just take it. And, of course, he's got to play back with the queen. And we play queen to e1. And we're going to trade off all the pieces. We're up clean material. Everything's pretty fantastic here. Now, the computer is going to scream that after bishop to d2 in this position, that we have mate and 9, I think it was. Okay, no thanks. This is, I guess you could come up with this move. It's not that crazy of a move to find, but this is, I think it's simpler to just trade off the pieces. Instead, I played queen to e1, and after captures, the game went on for several more moves. I just shifted my bishop over to this side, got my queen involved, pushed some pawns, and ended up with a nice checkmate on the queen side. So it's basically over here. But the part that I thought was interesting and the big takeaways that I think is this after, sorry, not knight to g3, but this idea of bishop f5, just not being afraid of this move, and understanding that when we give up the bishop pair, this pawn is still really strong. We can get a massive lead in development. We can very quickly, sorry, we don't even necessarily need to go to e2 now. We can go out. We very quickly can get control down the e-file, or sometimes even castle queenside. And just quick development is the key here, and it's okay to allow this scary-looking check on d6. The same idea applied even if we didn't have the opportunity immediately. It's still true here that we can develop quickly. We don't need to worry about this pawn too much. And it's a lot of trouble if white tries to go for natural play. Anyhow, I hope this was instructive, and I wish you guys the best of luck in your games. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.